We didn't decide. We're live now, but who
Sure.
starts? We
I
usually
will. Hey,
you start.
why not?
You start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Unauthorized Caucus. I am Jordan Henry, Director of Research for Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, and with me is Ryan Height, the Director of Communications for Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. And we are here with you again today to talk about what's kind of funny, kind of sad. I mean, that's kind of the mantra of politics these days, kind of funny, kind of sad. But another very important topic that you're not going to be hearing discussed on the news that we need to be talking about. We've been talking about here around the office. We want to share that with you today. But before we do, go ahead, like this video. If you would, please share it with other people while we're streaming live here, and make sure that you're subscribed so that as we come out with these other live videos that you're not missing them. Big tech, no matter how much of it Elon Musk owns, is still trying to suppress voices, among them ours. And so we really need you to subscribe to the channel. That really is the best way to beat the big tech algorithms. So if you would, please subscribe to our channel, and we would greatly appreciate it. So on to the news. So the Disinformation Governance Board. Everyone was talking about it for a while, especially before the leak happened with the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And obviously a very Orwellian sort of thing. So the stated purpose of the board was that they were going to monitor attempts by foreign actors to introduce disinformation into American elections, which sounds great until you look at the history of just about everything else the DHS has ever done, claiming that it's only going to be going against foreign actors, and then they end up doing it to Americans anyways. So obviously, huge pushback from folks that are in favor of free speech to the idea of a government disinformation board.
And I mean, this is on the heels of now almost, well, a good year, if not more, of people really across the board complaining about the little COVID warning banners and misinformation. I mean, this has already, people are on guard against the warning of them, hey, this is misinformation that you're spreading, because those little things had popped up on everyone's social posts, including things that had nothing to do with COVID. It really had run amok, and at this point, I think a large majority of Americans, regardless of party affiliation or ideology, were questioning the fact checkers online. So for this to come out now, I can't think of worse timing if you're being serious about making this effort look legitimate and moving forward with it. So
yeah, and on top of all of that, see, this is the crazy thing about the age in which we live. We were talking about this, I think it was yesterday, about how just everything right now is on the internet. So if you want to find out about the head of the government, of the Disinformation Governance Board, Nina Jankowicz, you don't have to search through the archives at your local library or anything like that. You could just go to Twitter and TikTok and see what she herself has posted, and it's awfully scary.
I believe, according to the Washington Post, it was flamboyant. Her flamboyant TikToks.
That's good.
The flamboyant TikToks became the center of a right-wing push against her.
Yeah, which honestly, if the stuff about Bernie Sanders and his previous attempts at creating music came out earlier in the campaign, that might have been labeled as flamboyant too. But see, that shows the dichotomy there. You got the pre-internet age of those sorts of things, and now we're in the mid-internet age of all that. But Nina got onto her social media and made a parody song. What was it? One Mary Poppins song. Was it
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Yeah. And I forgot exactly how it went. I've tried to suppress it from my memory. But anyway, as a result of that, she was given the label by none other than the incredible Jack Posobiec of Scary Poppins.
It's true.
Scary Poppins.
The British accent was terrifying, to be honest. No, it really is. I mean, looking across some of this stuff, you see obviously younger and younger people that are coming into bureaucratic positions, but especially in the age of the internet, you see the choices that people make and look at it and think, is this is this really this is the person that we're taking seriously to lead a board inside the Department of Homeland Security posts these types of things on her off hours. And it's not even like the hobby. Like, she's a part of a band and goes and sings at restaurants and lounges in DC. Okay, you have a side hobby. I can get along with this just fine. But the bringing of that to your professional life, I mean, if you're going to be a comedian or a media commentator, maybe, but if we're looking to be a respected government official, it just, on its face, I feel like this is going to come back to bite you later on.
Although I'll push back on that a little bit and say that, yes, people can have hobbies. Some people like cooking, some people like gardening, some people like guns and all that. And, having hobbies, that's okay. But when your hobby is going and singing in bars and clubs about how you want to sleep your way to the top, that ought to give you pause. I mean, that is not on par with certain other hobbies that are out there. So I will push back on that a little bit and say that your ability to have a hobby outside of work and it not affect your work only goes so far, even if you are still keeping it outside of work.
I'll agree. I will agree with you on extent.
Yeah, but regardless of all that, all this stuff was in Nina Jankowicz's background. Giant pushback from Americans, not only to Nina Jankowicz herself, but also to the Disinformation Governance Board as a whole. And then, lo and behold, the Biden administration decides to put the idea on hold, not to eliminate it. They say they're just putting it on hold. Nina Jankowicz has resigned from the whole idea. And just like that, it's as though it never happened anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy thing. And you can't tell me that the Biden administration didn't look on her Twitter account before they nominated her for this position.
But is it crazy, though? Or is it quite possibly the whole point?
Right.
I mean, in fact, we talked about this earlier, and this is what we're about to get into, some of our fun behind-the-scenes discussions. It's the Washington Post that actually almost effectively put the final nail in the coffin of this whole thing with their article this week that talked about how disastrous this rollout was and gave credit to Jack Posobiec and all of the right that had just mocked it ruthlessly.
It wasn't credit the way that they presented it, but still.
No, it also wasn't grammatically correct the way that they typed it either.
Posted a tweet.
He posted a tweet. I'll stop there. I won't go into the New York accent. We have several New Yorkers that are lovely people that watch this program.
All three of them are great.
Yes. Yeah. There's 3 now. I thought there were 2. But it all was just so convenient how it wrapped together very quickly after the Washington Post. I mean, we've been talking about this for 2 weeks now? And Posobiec and tons of the right on Twitter had really launched full scale against this. But all of a sudden was it Monday or Tuesday, it really starts to leak. I think it was on Tuesday it leaks that it was being paused. And then I want to say early Wednesday or late Tuesday, the Washington Post article comes out and boom, Nina Jankowicz resigns. It's all very convenient.
Yeah.
And it kind of led to the question, and I'll ask you this. What do you think? I am almost of the opinion, conspiracy or not, that when something like this comes up and goes away so quickly, I look at it and say, was this all the plan the whole time to put up something so ridiculous, hand us the victory? Because the whole thing is just a distraction, meaning what else is going on? Are we sending, $40 billion to Ukraine? What other things are going on in the background that we're distracted from talking about, distracted from mobilizing Americans about? And that begs the question. So do you think the Disinformation Board, was it itself a disinformation campaign to distract us?
I think that's very possible. Like you said, I mean, it's sending over $40 billion to Ukraine, Biden unrolling his big plan for student loans, and forgiving student loan debt, which isn't really forgiving, but just transferring that to the taxpayers. So, I mean, you could make a very compelling argument. I don't know if you'll ever be able to prove that, but think about the way that people on either side of the political spectrum usually operate. Usually what they do is they try to ask for a mile, hoping that they'll gain a few inches. Mm-hmm. They'll say, hey, we want the minimum wage to be raised to $50 billion an hour. Oh, and then, you'll say, $50 billion an hour, we can't do that. How about 15? They say, deal, we'll take it. And there you go. You got the whole time they wanted 15, but you fell for the trap, and then you feel like you're compromising to come to that, but they got what they wanted the whole time. And so that's the kind of tricky stuff that we see with the left, and honestly, many on the establishment right doing all the time, is they'll try to use that sort of misdirect in order to keep you distracted from what they're really looking for. It happens over and over again, and I would not be surprised if that's the sort of thing they're wanting here.
Oh, I absolutely agree. In fact, this is the funny thing is, we were talking about this just before we turned the camera on. They're actually, the Biden administration is claiming that the disinformation board being shut down, it was as a result of disinformation. I mean, it's just mind-boggling the layers of disinformation that are being thrown around here. That but yeah, it's absolutely, to me, it is beyond suspicious at the timing of everything, especially when the now infamous Taylor Lorenz, whose name everyone now knows is the one bringing out hit pieces on Jack Posobiec, and then their own people are resigning as a result of it. It's all so very convenient that it makes me it just smells like coordination to me. So I'm of that opinion.
Yeah, it really does. And you're not going to hear this on the news, honestly, because they want to keep talking about whatever the shiny object is, the disinformation board or whatever else it is. They want to talk about the shiny object that's going to get them the most clicks. And, to an extent, that's how they make their money. Their job as journalists should be to dig deeper, though.
Oh, yeah.
And they should be talking about this, but they're not. And so I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have about whether or not the shiny object is really the thing to be talking about right now. I mean, the thing with Ukraine, $40 billion just evaporates. It goes over to Ukraine, and who knows what it's actually really going to be used for.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about the number this morning, which actually I want to get into that in just 1 second. Let me break in though for two quick things before we keep the discussion rolling. First of all, Becky, this is me. I want to remind everyone that if you're typing down here, someone's asking who's replying in the comments, that's me. We're here running this on this laptop. So there's no behind the scenes magic. There's no interns in a closet. Well, I mean, we do have an intern, but he's not in a closet. He's at a legitimate desk right now.
True.
This is a shout out to Mason. Thank you for joining us this summer. We're glad to have you here. But we're here running this. So if you have questions, comments, if you want to pipe up, comment on YouTube, on Facebook, reply to the tweet. You can email me, Ryan at phyllisschlafly.com, Jordan at phyllisschlafly.com. We're here to answer some questions, to have some interaction. So jump in there, please. And like I said, Becky, this is me. I'm the one typing with you right now. So the magic behind the camera is now in front, but behind the screen, you can't see. And then the second thing, we actually had someone real quick before we jump back into the numbers. Someone asked last week, all of a sudden this unauthorized caucus popped up. What was that about? What is this unauthorized caucus? Well, we've decided to name our little streaming endeavor here every Thursday, and I'll give you the story behind that. One of our favorite memories is the staff of Phyllis Schlafly when she would come in. If ever she entered the same room or the hallway or something, she would come in. As we've talked about, behind the scenes, there are conversations that go on. We'll gather briefly in the hallways or around someone's desk, and we're talking about these issues because we're all conservatives that care. We're involved in our communities. We're involved at the state and local and national level as much as we can be as voters. So she would always come up and see a group of people and ask, is this an authorized caucus? To which, of course, she loved that we would, these were the discussions we would all be having together. This is what would, distract us from our desks, is the pressing issues that we're covering and what we're doing. So we always joked that, whenever we would gather together, once she had passed and in our missing of her around the office, we would call it an unauthorized caucus. Well, we've had an unauthorized caucus for too long. We should go back to our desks. So in honor of that fond memory of Phyllis, who was one of our, I think, one of the greatest conservatives of our lifetime, obviously, and then probably who will forever be my favorite boss to have worked for.
And a great sense of humor.
And
too,
a fantastic, fantastic sense of humor. Unauthorized caucus moving forward every Thursday. We hope that you will join us for these unauthorized caucuses as we talk about the things that matter. Anyway, back to it, though, because we want to let everyone get back off their lunch breaks. I will say, one thing we talked about is it's just incredible that for 4 years, what was the number? And someone might correct us on this. We didn't actually look it up. The border wall. Trump's border wall was supposed to cost what, 26 billion?
26, I think they
at
said the high
at the high
end.
end, 26 billion. I remember it being in the low 20s or something like that. $26 billion we fought. How would we spend $26 billion, they say? $40 billion to Ukraine. This many billion dollars here. How many billion dollars of student loan debt? Well, maybe millions, but I mean, how much student loan debt is he wanting to just cancel off the books?
Well, the total student loan debt in America, I think, is like 1.7 trillion.
I was going to say
it is over a trillion.
Over a trillion.
So yeah,
but I forget how much they're looking to cancel this way around. But you think about it. First of all, I mean, it's just very disingenuous. Second of all, though, how far have we been desensitized to the printing of and spending of the fake printed money?
Yeah.
I mean, this is incredible. We were talking about this when some of the COVID spending was coming back up, and then Biden's Build Back Better plan got shot down. You know, we were all incensed 12 years ago that the Obama response of stimulus was, you know, a number of $100 billion. Well, now you look at the COVID bills, you know, 3.5 trillion, another 2 trillion. I'll just throw another few $100 billion at that. We've become so desensitized to it. It's almost insane when you actually examine, first of all, the numbers that we're talking about. And second of all, you all fought the $22 billion or $26 billion to close off illegal entry to our border, possibly stop a human trafficking epidemic, possibly stop the opioid epidemic that's killing the number one cause of death from Americans 18 to 45. And you fought a half of what we just sent to Ukraine for we're not even sure what.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And it should just fume every taxpayer to hear this kind of stuff and realize where we are.
It was funny. Just yesterday, as I was driving my wife to work, we looked at the price of gas, and she said to me, you know, it used to be that it was going up like 5, maybe 10 cents at a time, but now gas is going up in 20, 30 cent increments.
Yeah.
And I said to her, you know, that's what happens when the number gets so large, then the increase of 20 cents seems a lot less of an increase as a percentage. And that, I feel like, is what we're dealing with as a country too, with these, you know, with the reckless spending we see in Congress. It's the same idea. The higher and higher the numbers go, the more, as you said, desensitized we get to the idea of just dropping a couple billion here, a couple billion there.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. And, you know, it's a good reminder. I keep remembering as we, as concerned citizens, as conservatives, get an opportunity to talk about these things. We talk about inflation, but I think a lot of people, like, that kind of goes over their head when you realize, like, hey, I know that your gas prices are going up, but let's remember that the actual effect of inflation, every time they print more money with no backing, we just make it up and print more, your money in the bank becomes worth less, or you know, it devalues. So every time they print another dollar, you lose, I should know the statistic to start effectively saying this, but say 20 cents. 20 cents of your dollar goes away when they print another dollar or two. I mean, that's effectively what's happening by whatever the number system is. So the more that we print, the more that they go, your budget literally goes less and less far every month. Your $20 in the gas tank or at the grocery store is going to buy you significantly less. And it's not just an overtime thing. It is a direct cause of this absolute printing of money, which, as I'm running through some of the Tuttle Twins books now with my kids, we're learning about quantitative easing. I'm teaching my 7 and 3-year-old, which is the fancy word that the IRS and the Treasury Department have come up with, you know, with just printing more money. So let's not get this couched into big terms that people forget what it really means. The more they print, the less yours is worth. Instant connection. And people need to, I mean, this is something to get mad about, to go and throw people out of office for, and to demand some significant, hey, someone bring a sledgehammer to this system change. And that's where we are. Foreign aid, you know, domestic spending, whatever it is, they're desensitizing us, and it should make us incredibly mad at some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about all of the issues that are swirling around in the public sphere right now, there are a lot, and there are a lot of important issues. And of course, you know, preserving free speech is far and away one of the most important among those. But if you think about what's going to motivate people whenever they go to the voting booth, we all know what has happened to the price of milk We know what's happened to the price of gas. We know what's happened to the price of eggs. We can see that every single day, and we feel that. And so I think that it's important that we not be distracted whenever the Biden administration tries to offer up these things like the Disinformation Governance Board.
Yeah.
Obviously, when those things do come up, we need to be sure to let them know that we won't stand for that.
Yeah.
But we can't let our focus be taken off of the things that are fundamentally important to what's affecting American families each and every day. And chief among those, really, right now, is inflation.
Yeah.
And that's caused by the government's overspending. So that, I think, is the biggest takeaway from this, from a messaging standpoint, is that we need to be laser focused on the issues that are going to help real conservatives win where it counts, and to support them as they go forward and use those victories too.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have wrapped it up better. I think that is the big lesson here, and it's something that we're dealing with now, and it goes through every level. This is one of the conversations we have behind the scenes. States are so very important in this, because as the federal bureaucracy and the bureaucracy even inside of Congress grows every day, it's a harder and harder machine, it feels like, for voters to make this big dent in, although we can. But we need our states to stand up. That's why we're always so grateful here for courageous attorneys general, for courageous state legislatures, because it's going to require a good bit of the states administratively as the state to stand up to the federal government and say, we got to stop this. We're done. We need to make some changes. And that's a big, powerful force. So as you go forward toward the midterm elections, remember, it's not just your members of Congress. It is vitally important who's in your state legislature, who's on your school board, who's in your county, because those voices matter. If COVID taught us anything, those voices matter.
Definitely.
So that's it for us today. I think we should wrap it there. We got a lot of good stuff. Well, we could talk about more. We could go on. But again, I'll remind you, as Jordan did at the beginning, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Twitter, hit the retweet button. Make sure to hit the follow, and you can even hit the little notification bell so you're alerted to our live streams or to all of the tweets. Same thing on YouTube. Hit the subscribe and the alert bell on Facebook. Share this with your friends, because these are the conversations that we need to be having. This is the information that needs to get out. And to your point, inflation. We're talking about inflammation of the facts through disinformation. Inflation may be the number one thing that's hurting Americans, but also on that front with free speech, if we lose the ability to use these platforms to actually get correct information into the hands of people, no one knows, and everyone remains distracted or unaware of what's happening. So help us spread the word. Make sure that you don't miss out on next Thursday's video, and we look forward to being back with you next Thursday for another Unauthorized Caucus.
See you later.